For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the Speed Metal Kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And now, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Auburn versus Oklahoma is just a few days away, and it is finally time for us to preview and predict not just what's going to happen with the final score, what's going to happen on the offense, the defense, special teams, and everything in between in this matchup the first time that Auburn heads to Norman, Oklahoma. Let's get into all those different predictions right now. War Eagle, everybody, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about the Auburn experience. That Auburn experience to us is all about a few things: Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it might be, though, is if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing today here on our live preview and prediction show, covering Auburn versus Oklahoma, Game 4. We want to welcome you into the live stream, whether you are watching live, whether you're watching on the replay. We appreciate you being here whenever you can, but primarily this is intended for the live audience to be interactive, hang out with us. So let's start the show off as we always can ask you to do so by making sure that you hit that like button wherever you're watching, that share button, that reshare button. Everything that you've got access to as part of the audience, especially on the live portion, please do that for us. And most importantly, let us know that you're here. In the comment section, say War Eagle, hello, however you want to. We've got some Oklahoma fans that potentially want to say hello as well. Don't be shy. You guys come into the chat because this show is primarily for you and by you. I am just the vessel with which we are going to be conducting this here prediction show. Ultimately, yes, getting you to the score predictions for Auburn versus Oklahoma. Some fine people already checking in with us. We appreciate you guys being here with us this evening. Now, let's kind of set the table for you what to expect this evening. We are going to walk through in just a minute offense, defense, and special teams. We're going to give you a little bit of information here just to get the show started with about the team. We'll reference back to a few of those things throughout the stream today. But primarily, we want to get you to the predictions part of the show in offense, defense, and special teams, and then end with our score predictions at the end of the show. So let me get us started with that, and you guys can offer comments and questions throughout. Don't be shy. You can interact with us and participate in that way tonight, and we'll get to the highly interactive part here in just a little bit. Let's take a look at the matchup real quick. Right here, this is a document that you can get on Auburn Athletics website if you would like to. The media gets it a little bit earlier in the week, I believe, or at least notified of it, but you can find it on Auburn's website. A lot of detailed information. This actually isn't the full pages of the document. This is really dumbed down just to some nitty-gritty things that you may want to pause and look through and think about and when you're planning and thinking about Auburn versus Oklahoma. Some notes about the game, special things. We're not going to go through all of this nor spend hardly enough time on any of this, but we want to just make sure you have it available to you. It should be good enough quality on the screen to pause and look at if you don't want to go search for the document yourself. 2:30 Central Time, 3:30 Eastern Time. Kickoff on ABC, Auburn, Oklahoma, Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, the Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. That is quite a name. Whew, my goodness, that is a lot there. And I thought Jordan-Hare Stadium had enough names on it. They have a sponsorship and a Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. Anyway, I won't harp on that too much. We do know that Auburn all time has not beaten Oklahoma, so this would be the first time that they've had a crack at that thing. We'll see how it pans out and maybe predict as much tonight. So just look through this for a few other notes. 4th game of the season, first game in SEC play for both teams. What a way to kick it off with a historic opportunity for Auburn to start riding the ship on that record, for Oklahoma to continue with the great season that they're having as well. What an exciting way to start the season. The next page that we have here, if you want to stop and look at it, is the depth chart for Auburn, something that you can certainly reference back to if you would like to. Nothing has really changed that I can see on there in terms of the guys that were already in the lead spots are there. A lot of or situations, especially on defense. And you can imagine as some of these injuries have happened that they are going to need to rotate even a few more guys in there. And we'll try to go back and reference the I'm going to try to pull it up now. I should have already had that pulled up for you guys. The injury report that we'll reference in just a little bit. Anything else on this page that we need to cover with you guys? We're just trying to roll through some of this really quick just to get you started off, because I know what you guys are here for a lot of the interaction and the predictive part of the show. Derek Kong, I appreciate you being here, man. We're not asking for score predictions right now, so just hold off on those because we don't want to encourage others to do that. We're going to save those to the end. If you can't hang out the whole time, that's fine. You can drop your score prediction, but we hope that you can hang out to the end for us. Okay, moving ahead into the next page. If you look at it, this one right here, the main thing that you want to look on that, this is just a bunch of stats and things like that that you can look through, but is that bottom table down there. And that's something that we're probably going to be referencing the entire time. I'll read off some key points to you for this matchup. How individually things stack up and things like that. For Auburn team statistics right now, for instance, points per game, 37. They are having 33.7 points per game. You can go through first downs, rushing per game, passing per game, how much each team is getting themselves or giving up to opponents, and match those up. That's going to be important information when we get to thinking about some of these categories that we're going to predict. Time of possession, things like that. Their individual leaders, rushing, Cobb and Arnold. For Auburn, for Oklahoma, Blaylock and Mateer are going to be their leading rushers as well. Passing, you can compare those things. Certainly, it looks a little bit better for Mateer. He has him by about 400 particular things. Okay, sorry, I'm getting emails throughout the day in the middle of shows and things like that. So, and text like that. It's been happening all day, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing something. Receiving. We've got obviously Singleton, Fields, and Coleman, who are the leading wide receivers for Auburn. Burks, Lewis, and Kanak. Is that how you say that on that one? Defense, Kieron Crawford, Caleb Harris, Xavier Atkins after that. And then a couple of guys on defense. I'm not going to butcher that gentleman's name or insult him in any way. Lewis and McKenzie on defense are their leading guys there. Moving right along, let's move to the next page and see if there was anything important that we need to look at that. This is actually probably good to lay things out nice and neat for you for team statistics, even going into a little bit more detail. So we might reference back to a few of these things. Once again, I'm just providing these for you in the video portion of the show so that we can have it if you need to pause and come back to it if you're just thinking or wanting the information for yourself. I think the next couple of slides are going to be the exact same way. Just some things for you to reference in the stats category. We might come back to them. We might not. It just is going to be available to us if we need to do so. Same thing there. Some defensive categories for all of the leading tacklers, defensive stats, all those types of things. Anything else? I don't know why I kept that. Oh, third down conversion things. We actually do have a category when we go through our different phases of the game, third down conversion. So that might be good to reference and things like that. All of these are available to you for the first 3 games and such for Auburn football. All right. I need my readers to see those stats. Well, it's the best we can do, man. So if you'd like to help us by, figure out how we can make that a little bit bigger and stuff, we're just doing the best we can, giving you what we can here on the fly. All right. Good to see you, 313. Those are a little bit of the facts, a little bit of the stats just to roll through. We'll talk through more of them in some details when we get through different segments, but we try to spend the first 10 to 15 minutes. We're right at that time frame. Talking about just some of those generic things before we get to predictions. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. A lot of people are arriving. Good to see you. Unbeaten Lake says we are currently 0-4 against Venables coach defenses, averaging only 15 points against them. So I guess that is dating back to Clemson. It's a unique stack to bring up. So thank you for sharing that. Unbeaten Lake. Going back to Clemson, obviously you can think about that and factor that in. Different teams, different schemes, different personnel. So it doesn't mean that will necessarily carry over, but certainly that does make you feel a little bit less. Sure. Thank you, WT, for remembering your homework and your assignment. Nope. He's the first one to say, "What's cooking, Devin?" Come on, guys. We got to make that a thing. I want that to be a thing every time we see Devin in the chat. Of course, she was here early. So to her credit, she got here before some of you were able to get here and hang out a little bit. And Greg says, to the comment about us being 0-4 against Venable coach defenses. So you're saying there's a chance, right? Saying there's a chance. Oddly enough, the 2012 team scored the second highest points with 19. So we know a benchmark maybe, right? 19 points is what we got to at least get to for this to feel, at least historically, statistically, not as bad of a thing. We just need to keep OK from scoring over 15. Maybe. I mean, if you hit that second best mark of 19, maybe so. Maybe so. Let's do this thing. I'll pull this off the screen. If there's something that y'all want me to pull up and reference, let me know. I'll read out most of it off for you, but I think the majority of you saw what you needed to see or are spent some time on that. You can go back and look at those types of things. I'm actually just looking here on X, looking at some information that's coming through. It looks like Eric Singleton will play. That's Pete Thamel. Love that guy, huh? Love that guy. He is going to play. Last bit that I want to bring up. I don't have it. Actually, I think I could for you. Let's do that. I forgot that we have a couple more things that we want to go through on here. Share screen for you guys. You think I would have this already set up for you? I want to share this screen. Let's see if we can get to that for you all. Whoop. Bring that one on the screen. Take that one off. There we go. All right. So you can see right here, we've got the injury report ready. I looked it up. Caleb Jones shared it a little bit earlier. You can see it for Auburn and for Oklahoma. If you look at that, there's a lot of offensive linemen out for Oklahoma. Now, there was somebody on our TikTok stream today that was an Oklahoma fan sharing his perspective and felt like that was going to be a big problem for them. I didn't want to really overreact to that because I'm not sure, where their depth is or how many of these guys are from their depth portion or their starters or whatever. But I mean, if you look at it, there's 3 offensive linemen that will not be able to be used. They're out. You've got 4 others. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me look on this screen over here. 4 that are questionable, meaning that they could be, re-injured or something like that. So not 100%. Another guy that's probably going to be fine in Owen Holenbeck. That's in the probable side of things. So that is very interesting to look at and think about. But even look at Auburn's injury report here. There's some key pieces right here that are going to be, questionable at best. Obviously, Darrell Robinson is out after his procedure. Amaris Williams and Jay Crawford were listed as doubtful yesterday. I don't know if this has been, posted 7:10 Central Time on Wednesday, so it hasn't been updated quite yet. I believe there was word out of practice today that Jay Crawford was looking pretty good, so he might be a little bit more available than originally thought, but doubtful right now. All these guys are questionable. Champ Anthony, Eric Singleton, although there was a report from Pete Thamel that he will play. Rashawn Pleasant, Isaiah Miller. Believe it or not, that's a big question mark for us. Isaiah Miller has gone from being a starter, a really solid guy, to accepting this role of this sixth man, the guy that can be plugged and played anywhere on the offensive line pretty much. And you won't really miss a beat with him. And he's very experienced. So to me, a guy having a question mark on him in terms of how ready he is to play in terms of injury, that's a big deal for me. Honestly, the more I've looked at this injury report, that is the one that probably has me the most concerned out of anything, just because he's that first guy that comes in a rotation and can play at guard, can play at tackle. I think he played center at 1.2, if I'm not mistaken, in his career. I'm probably wrong on that, but that feels like something I've heard before. That's a big injury. Damari and Malcolm look like they're going to be just fine, but still listed as probable for you guys on this particular list. Let's switch over to the ESPN. Sorry for all the ads and stuff like that. But you look at the line right now, 7.5 in favor of Oklahoma. Obviously, with them being at home, it's going to be obvious that, right, that they would be favored. And I think that's moved up a little bit from 6.5 if you care about the spreads. If you look at the fan cast right there, I think that's been slightly increasing towards Oklahoma all week. 65% chance Oklahoma wins on ESPN. So Auburn is clearly in a bit of a situation. Both teams have not played a SEC game yet, still 3-0 on the year. So somebody will leave with their record perfect and their record tarnished after this game. There's all the leaders from the particular categories. If you want to compare those, Jackson Arnold and Mateer, Cobb to Blaylock, Singleton to Kanak, who's the tight end. So obviously, as the receiving leader being the tight end, that'll be something interesting to watch. The leading sack acquirers and the leading tackle getters for each of those guys. All of that last couple of games for each of those teams. Obviously, the last three are the most important in this list. They beat Temple handedly. They beat Michigan by 11 points, and then Illinois State. That feels a lot like, honestly, that Illinois State game feels a lot like the Ball State game, or even last week with South Alabama. So I'm sorry, I had that backwards. They played them first. You get what I'm saying. Had to go and play at Temple. We don't have to go play at places like Temple. That's pretty wild that they got convinced to go over there. Anyway, all right. So that is a bunch of the stats, a bunch of the facts, a bunch of the things that we want to talk about. I think the weather is supposed to be pretty warm. That's about it. That's kind of the things that we wanted to touch on. And I don't know why I keep rubbing my nose. I'm so sorry. It's just very itchy right now. And maybe I'm coming down with something again, which would not surprise me. And it always happens right now while I'm in the middle of the show and I can't get it figured out. All right, enough about that. Let's get to the predictions part of the show. Let me know that you're here in the chat. If you are watching live, just give me a yes, please. Don't be a smart aleck right now. Just give me or I'm here, whatever. Just a real quick acknowledgement that you are watching the chat, that you're ready to type. The reason I asked for that is because I'm trying to do a quick poll of the room when we go through those things. So if you are actively participating right now, we want to kind of know who we're watching for, who we're looking for, want to know who's going to be voting. It gives a kind of perspective of what we're going to be dealing with here, which usually at the start of the show is a little on the light side. So we got a couple of our regulars here. Good to see a lot of you. Appreciate that. While the rest of you are responding. There we go. Let's see what you guys said. Auburn is averaging 40 yards per punt this year. The punter, Hudson, has 8 punts with 320 total yards. Thank you for that. Couldn't get by without that information. WT. All right. Offense, defense, special teams. That's the goal here. Let's do this thing. We're starting on offense. This is your first category that we're going to be predicting tonight. How many passing yards and how many passing touchdowns will Auburn score in this game versus Oklahoma? How many passing yards and passing touchdowns will Auburn have versus Oklahoma in this particular game? For reference, Auburn has right now 173.7 passing yards, which puts them at 110th. I think I saw someone overreacting to that stat earlier today, lacking the context and emotion, but certainly that is a good reference point. If we can go back to while you guys are typing, and then we'll look at some of your stuff. I'm going to go back and reference the sheet that we brought up earlier for the amount of yards allowed for Oklahoma. Passing yards per game allowed by Oklahoma, 84.7. So the odds would tell you it will fall somewhere in the middle of that, which isn't a very good passing game overall. What said all of you? We got 124 and 2 passing touchdowns. I wouldn't mind that if there's 2 passing touchdowns and it's the yardage just isn't that exciting. I'll still take 2 passing touchdowns. We've got 250 and 1, so a little bit more in the yardage. Somewhat similar here. If that's the stat line, same thing here with Joe. I think we're going to win the game. If Auburn, I think, passes for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think you're going to win the game because I think the rushing attack is going to be there. 180 and 1 touchdown. So just a little bit above on the yardage from what the average is right now, which is the safe bet. I am leaning this way. I'm leaning that Auburn is going to hit 200 yards passing in the game. The statistics don't necessarily back that up based off the average right now, but it's an average. So that means they've done that before. So I feel like a 205 and 1 passing touchdown in this game situation is where I'd like to sit. I like the yardage. I don't necessarily know about the touchdowns aspect, and I feel like maybe it'll come in the form of a unique Eric Singleton situation where you just get the ball in his hands on a sweep or something like that. And then and I know technically a sweep would be a rush, but you get what I'm saying. Just get the ball in his hands and let him go to work type of situation. That's what I'm feeling currently at this time. All right, this is your second thing in offensive category. I want to know how many rushing yards and how many rushing touchdowns you predict Auburn will get versus Oklahoma in this particular game. What say you? Auburn, Oklahoma. This is for Auburn's offense, rushing yards and rushing touchdowns in this game. For your informational purposes, rushing yards per game for Auburn, 242. Rushing yards allowed per game by Oklahoma, 96.3. So there is a wide, and I do mean wide, gap between those two things, what is allowed by Oklahoma and what Auburn is gathering per game. So where does it meet? Maybe in the middle somewhere. In that wide of a gap, it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. I do think that between the rushing attack of Jeremiah, Damari, and Jackson Arnold, there is going to be 200 yards. That's kind of where I'm sitting right now. Haven't really decided how many rushing touchdowns we're going to get. I think we're going to have to get 2 of those to be competitive in this game to keep things close. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. Let's see what you guys are saying. 135 and 2, 120 and 2, 165 and 1, 195, 2 touchdowns, Cobb and Arnold. So you had to be really specific there, but I get it. 160 and 2 touchdowns. So the lowest that we have from somebody is 120. Everybody's saying that we're scoring touchdowns, right? It looks like that everybody that's participating in the chat right now. I will say 220 rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns. I think Auburn's going to have to do that. And I think there will be a concentration on doing that. What we've seen a lot this year is people trying to take away the passing game for Auburn out of fear of their wide receivers. And there's been a combination of that. They have taken it away, / Auburn hasn't really needed to attack that because of that. They have focused on the run attack, which has been, frankly, for me, a very pleasant surprise as someone who is a football running game purist, traditionalist, whatever you want to call me. I have very much enjoyed in this RPO system us maximizing the run attack. It's been a thing of beauty to watch after the last couple of years where at times it felt like that was a little bit lackluster. This is from Unbeaten Lake. He says, knowing Venables, he's going to take away the run game and force us to pass. And this may be one of those times where it's the complete opposite. And frankly, if you're Brent Venables, I think it would be unwise not to adopt that strategy because most people are wanting to see. We've been worried about these wide receivers, worried about this passing game. People have been keying off of that, trying to take it away for fear that was going to get going on them. Try to stop the run attack. So it is probably one of those things that you're going to see over time, not over time. At the start of the game, there'll be a concentration on that, stacking the box, potentially, yes. The question is, can they maintain it throughout the game, especially if Auburn starts to make a little headway with their passing game? We shall see. We shall see. All right, this is your next one that we want to go through in our predictions category. How many sacks will Auburn's offensive line, or just how many sacks will Auburn give up to its quarterbacks in this game? Keep in mind that in the first 2 games, I don't think it happened the last game. The first 2 games, there was a sack on each of the first drives. Both of those first two drives in the first two games looked horrendous, but they got it together. Game 1 looked great for the offensive line. Game 3 looked great. Game 4, 3, 2. Yeah, we're about to talk about game 4. Game 2 left a little bit to be desired. So how many sacks do you all predict that Auburn will give up to its quarterbacks in this game? How many sacks will they allow? However you like to say that. Nobody's got a guess? Nobody? Did we lose everybody? It went quiet in the chat. Or maybe everybody's a little bit behind. That does happen from time to time. Greg says this is the key. If we can protect the run, block, run, if we can protect and run block, we can win. We're going to give up a few, I think 3 sacks given up. We got 3 and 3, 4. It took a little bit of time to get in there. 3 and 3. So it looks like everybody so far, for everybody that has answered, we're expecting at least 3. This environment, I've seen it twice already. In one tough environment that at Baylor that they gave up a sack early. So I think you can expect if not a sack on the first drive, a sack on somewhere in the first quarter, something like that, and them keeping that crowd in there. Joe's a little bit more bullish on it, which I love to see with only 2. I don't think it's going to be a bad game of sacks. I do think there will be a few, which would typically mean 3 or more. I think I'm going to lean a little bit on the cautious side and say 4 with like 3-1-3. I'm going to say that. We gave 11 sacks against Venables in 2017, by the way. Thank you for continuing to remind us of that. Unbeaten Lake tonight is just going to remind us of how much we've struggled against Brent Venables teams. Different year, different team, different scheme. I know it's the same defense, though. Coach even said it during the press conference this week, or some of his Q&As. He said, y'all, it's the same defense. It's still good. The offense is what's completely different. So take that for what you will. Take it for what you will. All right, next thing that we got. How many turnovers will Auburn have in this game? How many turnovers will Auburn have in this game? None last game. No interceptions on the year. Knocking on wood. A few fumbles. Most of them have not been lost. Some were incorrect fumbles that were overturned, thankfully. How many turnovers will Auburn have against a very stingy, very good Brent Venables defense? I want to remind everybody of this while you're thinking about that. Fumbles or interceptions, turnovers. That's what we're looking for. Dave Aranda is a great defense guy, too. And Auburn was able to do some things with them that I don't think a lot of people were anticipating. I'm not saying that Dave Aranda's defense and his team is more talented than this Oklahoma team. The perception is it's not. But at least was something that was a really good test on a very hyped up night at a very excited Baylor, challenging place to play. So different SEC, different skill sets, all that kind of stuff. What do you guys think? We've got 0 turnovers, 1 fumble, 3, Unbeaten Lake says. I feel like 3 is the magic number, meaning if you get 3 or more, you are going to lose the game. 2 or fewer, okay, Greg said it, and we can win 3 or more, and it's L City. I mean, literally, we said it at the exact same time, Greg. Realistically, 1-0 for Neil. What's up, Mr. Sadie? We got an OU fan in the house. Thanks for stopping by. You can join in on the conversation, too. We've just got some predictions going here right now. We're in the Auburn offense side of things. You guys have been kind of a couple of 0s, 1s. Like I said, I agree with Greg. I think if Auburn has 3 or more, the game is lost. You got to keep it under 2. So I'm going to predict an interception and a fumble, so 2. I think Arnold will try to force something a little bit too, and it may not even be out of desperation. It may be like, I'm feeling good. I'm getting going here and I'm ready to prove something, and just throw something too tight of a corridor, gets tipped up in the air. It may not even be like a bad interception in the sense that like it was blatantly just the wrong choice. It may have gotten tipped or something like that. But I'm going to say 1 interception, 1 fumble in this game that is recovered. That's where I'm going to sit at in this. Yeah. Next one in the offense category. Let's see what people think. It's one of those years where we've got a couple of options to talk about. Who's going to be Auburn's top rusher in this game? Will it be Jackson Arnold, Jeremiah Cobb, Damari Alston? Who's going to be Auburn's top rusher in this game? And by top rusher, typically we mean by yardage, but you can interpret that whatever way you want. We just want to know, when you think of Auburn and rushing in this game, who's the guy that we're talking about the most by the end of the game? That is what your prediction needs to be based off of. It can be any reasoning for that. Got our predictions rolling in here, and they're all a little different. We got a couple of Cobbs to start off, a lot of Arnolds as well. Robert's giving some love to Damari, another Jeremiah Cobb. Awesome, awesome. I think we all recognize this based off of the predictions. It could be any one of them. My gut's telling me it's not going to be Arnold, although I think he has an adequate enough day running the ball. I think he's going to have to. My heart wants me to say Damari has another game after he comes back from this injury and just shows out again, and why people continue to question him would be beyond me. But I think with Jeremiah being the hot hand right now, they're going to kind of lean on that. And so I'll go Jeremiah Cobb. I think it's the safest, easiest pick, but that's what I'll pick. It wouldn't surprise me though in yardage if it was off of like I said earlier, a sweep given to Eric Singleton coming across with his speed and just let him go to town. And then he's got, 70-yard sweep for a touchdown or something like that. That would be awesome to see. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a little bit, Mr. Saturday. I know you're an Oklahoma fan, haven't been here before. We're going through different categories, working offense and defense, and we'll dive into some of those things in just a second. We're getting close to being done with the offensive side of things, so feel free to participate though as we kind of go along. All right, next category in the offensive side of things. Who's going to be Auburn's top receiver in this game? Who is going to be Auburn's top receiver? Lots of options. Keep in mind, Eric Singleton is listed as questionable. There was a report about 20 minutes ago from an ESPN personality, don't like saying his name, that it looks like Singleton will be mostly good to go, if that helps you guys or makes you feel better about the situation over there. Who's going to be the top receiver in whatever way you mean? Usually yardage is what we think of there. Yeah, Robert and I are on the same wavelength. We want to see Damari show out in the rushing attack, but I don't know what his complete status of health is right now. We've got Simmons, another Simmons. You got to pick one, Joe. This is a prediction. You got to commit, not this or that. You got to pick one. Coleman. I do like that you are recognizing that Fields gets some shout outs as well. Coleman. So your top three guys, right, for Auburn this year so far have been Singleton, Coleman, and Horatio Fields. Some of that is because it's been limited because of Malcolm has been out last game, so he's lacking on some opportunities there. Joe sticks with Fields, Horatio Fields, breakout game. I've been telling you guys this all year. Everyone's talking about Cam Coleman, rightfully so. Everyone's talking about Eric Singleton, rightfully so. But when so much of the attention is on those two guys, you think about most great wide receivers cores. There's your core, probably there's your main two guys. There's a third guy that's in there. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife. Can do a little bit of everything. Malcolm Simmons, he's a deep threat. Give him the ball in the flats and he'll go as well. That fourth guy, you think of, people disagree with me. I think Darius Slayton fitted into this for Auburn. The best example I can give you is Anthony Mix for the longtime fans. I think Horatio Fields is the X factor on this team, in terms of the passing game, wide receiver core the entire year. So for me, I think they're going to try to take away Cam. Eric's a little bit, at some degree, banged up. Malcolm's probably going to be a little rusty. I think Horatio Fields is going to have to be that core guy for that core guy for Arnold. Yeah, you can say Thompson. This is your prediction. Perry Thompson's in there as well. They're trying to get Bryce Kane too, some more reps, and that's why you see him on special teams a little bit more. I know we're talking about that, but obviously they're wanting to get Bryce some more reps, and with injuries happening, certainly that presents more opportunity. So it is your prediction. You can predict whoever you want it to be. We were just discussing what you guys were initially saying and the likely candidates of that. The most likely candidates, I think we all agree, would be Coleman, Fields, and then Horatio Fields, backed up by Malcolm Simmons, maybe then a Perry Thompson, something like that. So I love the shout out for him as well. All right, moving right along here in the offensive side of things. We got one more to do, and this is another one that we've added over the last year or so by request. What do you think Auburn's third down percentage will be on offense? Third down percentage on offense. I'm going to try to pull up that for you guys. Let me see if I can find it on here. I'm going to pull that back up on the sheet for us. Let me pull us right there and see if we can't find it for you guys. I got to figure out what page it is. Third down percentage. Where did it go? I'm looking for it. Dun, dun, dun. Third down percentage right there listed for Auburn, 18, or conversion, I should say. 18 out of 34, so a little over, just barely over 50% on the year. That's AU there. Yeah, so that gives you a good perspective on that. So what is going to be the that wasn't really helpful for you guys, but I'm going to pull that back away. I was just finding it over here. What do you guys say on third down percentage for Auburn? Wildhawk, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with us. 55%, 35, 40 or better, and we can win. I think it's got to be a little bit higher than that. 78, Robert coming out of the woodwork with that one. 46%, 30, 43. I think to win the game, Auburn's got to hit at minimum 45%, like barest minimum. I'm gonna say, or I'm just gonna go weird with it. I'm gonna say 48%. Is that what it was on the 18 out of 34? So that would be actually 50 something. I'm gonna say 48%, but I'm gonna throw you guys a curve here. I think we're gonna be like 75% on fourth downs. So actually, that would be 66% on fourth downs. I'm going to say we get 2 out of the 3 of them that we have to attempt. So I think that kind of makes up for it a little bit. All right, so that's all your offensive predictions that we're going to do for this stream. Let's move on to defense. This is where it gets a little bit interesting, where we get to dive into what Oklahoma may be doing here. Let's talk about it. Thank you, WT, for making sure the percentage comes up clearly. 52.94% for Auburn on third downs. For defense, this is your first prediction. Get it in now. How many passing yards and passing touchdowns will Oklahoma have against Auburn's offense in this game? Once again, I will give you some reference for that if you would like. Currently, let me pull over onto this page here. I got to get a better way of organizing this so it doesn't get a little bit weird and out of hand. Let me come over here. Boop, 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 boop. Give me 2 seconds. All right. Oklahoma right now is passing 316 yards per game, and Auburn is allowing 220. So quite a bit of difference between the two. Does it fall in the middle of those, and to what side more than the other? And how many touchdowns do you think? Do you think they'll get more than their 316? Do you think they'll get less than their 316 or less than their 220? If Auburn only allows 220 or less passing yards to Oklahoma, they're going to win the game, I think. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're too talented on offense. They're probably going to get close to 300. What are you guys saying? Yeah, I don't do math well. Math is tough. 302 touchdowns, 320 and 1, 315 and 2 touchdowns, 335 and 2. Very nice. Very nice. We got some predictions there. Looks like everybody so far is predicting Oklahoma to be in the 300s. We got a 280, our first below that, 280 and 2. Obviously, Crawford being out for Auburn on the defensive back front in terms of him being, questioned. He was doubtful. Reports today, I believe I saw that he looked a little bit better today. So, but I think we recognize that would only upgrade him essentially, logically, to the questionable status, which means he might play, but he may not be 100%. At least give you a body to rotate in with some of the younger guys and stuff like that. So you got to wonder, this may be where the story of the game is. What does Auburn's defensive back group do with this particular one? 380 and 3 touchdowns. Wild Hawk, a little bit more optimistic. I'm guessing this is an Oklahoma fan. Greg says everyone has been bagging on our DBs all week. I think they turn out also. It's a different guy since everyone that was. It's different guys since everyone that was starting is hurt. Yes, I mean there's been a lot of banged up certain situations. John Mateer will get 3, 15, and 2 touchdowns. Well, we're only asking for passing right now, so I know this is a little bit foreign to you, Mr. Saturday, but just try to stay within the categories we're asking for. We're just asking about passing game alone right now. So 3, 15, and 2 passing. It looks like it's what you're saying right now. I'm going to say they'll probably get close to it. I'll just say they pass 3. I'm going to say 305, 2 passing touchdowns. I will be shocked. I'll step out again. If Auburn holds Oklahoma and John Mateer to 1 passing touchdown outside of them just going absolutely bonkers in rushing, I just don't see them being able to win the game. But that being, if Oklahoma doesn't score more than 2 passing touchdowns, I don't think that Oklahoma will win the game. Once again, guys, I know you're just arriving. We're not asking for score predictions just yet. Thanks for just coming in and hanging out with us, but we're holding off on score predictions right now. Please don't move past where we're at in the stream. If you can't stay the whole time, that's fine. We're just trying to keep it rolling there. All right, next thing. How many rushing yards and rushing touchdowns will Oklahoma have in this game? How many rushing yards and rushing touchdowns will Oklahoma have in this game? What do we think? Rushing per game for Oklahoma, 156.3. Auburn is allowing 67.0. 67.0. Their leading rusher by 7 yards, 5 yards, whatever that is. It's really small on my screen over here. Blaylock, I guess the running back, and then Mateer right behind him. 4 rushing for Mateer, 3 for Blaylock. What do we think? Rushing yards and rushing touchdowns in this game. That's all we're looking for at this moment. We've already talked about the pass opportunities, stats, touchdowns for them. What do you think? Think about it. Let us know. 175 and 1 touchdown, 95 and 1, 120 and 1 touchdown. Wildhawk says 50 yards and 0 touchdowns. Their leading rusher is Mateer. So you're not very bullish. You're not hopeful about their chances rushing the ball. 105 and 2. Everybody so far is keeping it almost at or below their rushing average. My guess is Mateer will be their leading rusher and is going to have 2 rushing touchdowns himself. If Mateer has 2 rushing touchdowns alongside what I think he's going to do passing the game, I think Auburn's lost the game. So that's what I'm feeling at this moment, that he is going to have 2 of those. I'll say 180, 3 rushing touchdowns, or one of their running backs gets in there. So you can kind of see where my mind is heading and my perspective of this game at this particular time. 135, 1 rushing touchdown from Mateer. I don't think I brought Greg's up, but just in case, there we go. All right. Let's keep moving here. Who is going to be Auburn's top tackler on defense? And this is what you were asking a little bit earlier. I think it was Mr. Saturday, some guys to watch out for on defense. Your leading tackler on the year is Kieron Crawford, defensive end, opposite of edge rusher Keldrick Falk, who has been, I wouldn't even say a pleasant surprise because this is what I was expecting the entire time from him. He's just doing so well, though. Kieron Crawford is your leading tackler on the year with 16, followed closely by safety Caleb Harris, who I think had a, kind of up and down first game, but has really come along since then. And then you've got Xavier Atkins, linebacker, who is he plays at he plays at an SEC level. I think that's what I kept trying to tell people in the offseason. I believe that Xavier Atkins is not only going to start or play significantly just because of his SEC experience. He knows the speed of the game. So those are probably, for those of you that are fans of Oklahoma that are stopping in and wondering about that, those are 3 names that are at the top of the tackles list to watch out at, one at each of the different groups of the main 3 groups of the defense, the levels. Defensive end, Kieron Crawford, or edge rusher, Kieron Crawford, whichever you like to categorize him as. Linebacker, Xavier Atkins, and safety, Caleb Harris. Keldrick Falk is the next name that you want to know as well. But here are some of the other things. We got DeMarcus Reddick, Xavier Atkins, not Atkinson, but Atkins. I know I've done that before too. I maybe even said it that way. Crawford. So you believe that Crawford's going to be healed up enough to be the leading tackler? I would love to see that, because if he's in the game, that means he's feeling a lot better. Falk, 2 for them. Robert Woodyard. Robert Woodyard's a good one to call out. He feels like he's due for a big breakout game. All the guys that have been predicted thus far. I'm sorry. Kieron Crawford. Thank you for, I did that the other night too. I forget that we have 2 Crawfords. Even though I just said his name a second ago. You'll understand, right? So Kieron Crawford is what Wild Hawk was predicting. I will say, I predicted, I think last week, Robert Woodyard. I kind of want to stick there again. I'm going to go Crawford. I'm going to stick with the obvious choice right now. I think too many people are still keying off of Keldrick Falk, and it's still opening up things for Kieron Crawford, who has an interception on the year too, off the tipped off pass. All right. What are we at time-wise? Ooh, we got to move. We got to move. Spent too much time yammering on. All right. This one's a little bit complicated, but try to keep it succinct how I'm going to ask for it. I'm going to ask for 3 numbers together. Just put a comma or a slash or whatever between them, or just space them out so I can see them in your response. How many sacks, recovered fumbles, and interceptions will Auburn's defense have in this game? How many sacks, how many recovered fumbles, and how many interceptions will Auburn's defense have in this game? What do you think? A lot of question marks on their offensive line in terms of depth with injuries, those that were out. There was like 3 that were out, 4 that were questionable, 1 that was probable. I think that opens up some opportunities for some sacks. Will it cause a fumble? I think that raises the chances for that. Can the problems that maybe are there for the offensive line situation for them create opportunities where Mateer does a little bit too much and sets it up for him to throw an interception? I think this is where Auburn is going to be able to exploit a weakness, if there is one for Oklahoma. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe everybody gets healed up. Maybe the depth is just too deep for them at this position. But I think this is where you're going to see some interesting numbers potentially. So you guys are saying 5, 0, and 1. Very similar, just off by 1. Looks like sacks are very well thought of to start off this game. Jerry, we're not asking for score predictions right now, so hold on to those, please, sir. 11 sacks. They turned it over on downs once. Okay. So, I mean, that counts. That's a turnover, right? It's not your tradition. It's not the exciting turnover that most people think of, but it is a turnover. I think they're going to get 4 sacks on the day. I like that option, and I think those will be very spaced out, so it won't happen. A lot. I think, in fact, 2 of them will come late in the game when Auburn's trying to fight its way back into the game. Their defense will create opportunities for the offense to get back into the game. potentially. So I like 4 sacks. I like 1 recovered fumble. I'll take it a step further and say 2 are forced, but only 1 is recovered. And I like 1 interception. So I'll go 4, 1 and 1 on this one. And Auburn's got to maximize those opportunities. Auburn has got to maximize those opportunities. All right. Lastly, yes or no question, or I guess no, not a yes or no question, just a number because you can just say 0 or 1 or whatever. How many defensive touchdowns will Auburn's defense have in this game? How many defensive touchdowns will Auburn's defense have in this game? What do we got? Brent got here a little late. 3, 1, and 2 for our last question. I got you in there. I like that pick, Wild Hawk, of turning over on downs one time. I could see our defense pulling that off. How many defensive touchdowns? 0. 0 is kind of what I was expecting. I think Auburn's defense can do some big things. I'm just not sure that we'll get that defensive touchdown that we've been looking for all season. But a defensive touchdown would really, really help on the road in Norman, Oklahoma. All right, we're going to keep moving right along. You can keep answering that if you'd like to, but we're just going to keep rolling. All right, the next thing that I'm looking for you guys, this is special teams, rapid fire here. How many times will Auburn have to punt in this game? How many times will Auburn have to punt in this game? This stat, I think people roll their eyes when I ask this, but this is actually really important. Reference this back with your third down percentage. What were you thinking about Auburn's third down percentage on offense? And how does that factor into that? How many times are we going to have to punt? I think I've got everybody's in the right order here. We got 4, 3, 3, 3. I think 3 times punting is a given. I think 4 is manageable. Any more than 4, and I'm concerned with what our offense was doing in the game. So I'm hoping less punting can also, you can have less punting if you're sustaining drives as well. 7 to 13 punts? 7 to 13 punts? Or is that your score? We're not doing scores quite yet, so just hang on to that. 3 punts? Okay, there we go. Let's keep moving right along. Next question I got for you. How many field goals attempted and made for Auburn's kickers in this game? Alex McPherson is getting a little bit stronger every week, it seems like, from coach's way he's been talking about it. They're increasing the amount that they feel comfortable letting him do the kicks. I do get the impression that Auburn will be able to move the ball, but may stall out a few times in their offense in the red. Now, to be honest, they're great in the red zone right now. I think they're almost 100%. Are they still 100%? I can't remember. But great in the red zone. So that begs the question, if you're in the red zone, if Auburn's in the red zone right now, the stats tell you that they're going to be able to score. Anything outside of that, you wonder if they're going to feel comfortable letting McPherson kick, which means that probably Gibbs would kick the long ones if that happens. So my guess is that Gibbs is going to have to kick a long one. I think he misses it. I think if we can get McPherson inside that red zone twice, we'll get 2 field goals out of him because he's pretty good. So I like some of you that are saying 2 and 3, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 2 and 2, 4 of 4. Lots of stalled drives. 3 of 2. 3 of 2. So we had like one magically appear on top of it. I know what you meant, but that looks weird written that way. I say 2 of 3. I'm going to say 2 out of 3 field goals. All right, a couple more things here. Yes or no, any punt returns or kick returns for touchdowns? Any punt returns or kick returns for touchdowns? What say you? Any punt returns or kick returns for touchdowns? Yes or no? May I add this for your reference? Rashawn Pleasant was listed as questionable, I believe, which means that Bryce Kane is probably going to be doing some of those returns in his place. Malcolm is due maybe for something like that. I think we're going to come very close to a punt or a kick return in this. I've seen enough from Bryce and Malcolm to know that they can create something and given a small enough gap. I just don't know if we're going to be able to break it loose, though. But Wild Hawk loves it with the all caps. No, young Malcolm houses a punt return. Punt return feels like it's the most likely. Kick returns, no kick returns. 0. Okay. I'm going to say no, but I think we come very, very close. And it'll be very helpful in the field position game. Last prediction before our score prediction. So hang tight. How many penalties and how many yards because of those penalties will Auburn have against them? So how many penalties throughout the game and how many yards will those penalties cost them? So whether it's like 7 and 90 yards or 4 and 100 yards, like what do you, I mean, that math doesn't math there unless it's just a really bad, I don't know, personal foul targeting situation. But that would be 2 fouls right there. So what do you think? I get the sense that this is going to be a very chippy game. Motion's running high, and maybe not even Jackson Arnold. I think it's the guys defending him from Oklahoma going to get themselves in some trouble. I could see offensive linemen shoving each other around after the play. So I think we're going to have probably, a hands to the face situation. I know that's during the play, but just kind of going a little bit too aggressive. I think pass interference is going to get us at least twice. So that's 2 for 30 yards right there. I'm going to say at least 2 false starts. So that's 4 and 10 yards. 4 and 40, if I'm doing my math correctly. Personal foul, I could see in there. That's 5, get you up into the 55 range. I'm going to say 7 penalties for 80 yards. I didn't even look. I just now looked up 3137 for 80 yards. We're thinking along the same thing. I think Auburn's going to get itself in a little bit of trouble. Cleaned it up a little bit last game, somewhat. I just don't know that that's going to happen in this game. So there's your guys' predictions. It says, we're getting cooked 9 for 110. There's everybody else's predictions right there. Wildhawk says we have to be very clean in penalties and turnovers to win, always on the road. We have gone through offense. We have gone through defense. We have gone through special teams. Bigfoot just got here. We found him. Everybody, we found Bigfoot. It's like he knew we were about to ask. What is your score prediction for the week? And remember, the benefit of doing this was for you to walk through some of these categories, to think about some of these things. That's why we had you walk through touchdowns and rushing for each team. Penalties. We had you walk through third down percentage for Auburn's offense. All of these things were important to figure how many punts Auburn was going to have. So you actually will think through your score a little bit more and come up with it. Let's see what you guys think. Auburn versus Oklahoma, who wins? While you guys are answering that, I'll remind you that in the preseason, I picked Auburn to beat Oklahoma. I said that they would swap 1 and 2 of these next 2 games. And Austin, this is where my co-host on the podcast, we differed. He said that we would lose at Oklahoma, win at Texas A&M. I said win here, lose at Texas A&M. Not really. Texas A&M doesn't matter right now, but just kind of showing you what our thinking was for these 2 games. I'm now going to switch. I do think that Oklahoma is going to be able to win this game. My concern is some of the injuries in some key areas. And even if people are improving, that has me concerned enough to wonder how that's going to affect the game. But let's see what you guys are thinking, and I'll walk through. We've got a very optimistic 42-24 Oklahoma. Lots of offense. 21-24 Oklahoma. 27-24 from 3-1 edits. Auburn win. Greg's got 24-17 Oklahoma. Neil 31-28 Auburn. 27-20 Auburn here. 34-27 Auburn wins. And yeah, we got that one. I don't know why that was posted in there twice. 36-24. Anybody else got your score prediction that you want to lock in now so we can reference back and say you were right, you were wrong? So I predicted for Oklahoma 2 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. And I do, unfortunately, like that prediction. So I'm going to stick with at least 35 points for them. I got to factor in there's probably, you know what? I'm going to back off. I'm going to go 34. So I'll take away one of those touchdowns, but maybe there's some field goals in there. So I guess that would get you, 3 field goals? Doing math. Y'all are watching me struggle with math again. No, that'd be 2 field goals, Kyle. 34 would be 2 field goals. They had 28 points. Yep. Right. No, I'm going to say 34 points for Oklahoma. I predicted Auburn would have 2 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown. I do like 21 points off of touchdowns. Trying to decide if I like the 2 field goals I predicted or not, which would make it 27, a 34-27 win. I'm going to say 34-24 Oklahoma wins. That's what I'm going to go with. 34-24 Oklahoma wins. That is going to be my prediction. 27-24 Auburn. Chris got his in there at the end. Thanks for sharing. So there you go. I'll lock in at 34-24 Auburn wins. That's above the margin of victory that they're given right now on the whole betting app thing, if you care about such things. But I just think there's going to be a few things that Auburn maybe does to itself. Oklahoma is just a good team too. They're going to be a little bit too much to overcome. All right, what else we got here? Dirk Kong is 45-21. He is ready to roll. You and who was it earlier that had 20? Somebody had a really big one too. You and Bigfoot. Dirk Kong and Bigfoot. Are y'all working together? Feels like that kind of goes together right there. All right, I can take a couple comments and questions. We're over our time, but if you guys got some questions, comments about the game, drop them in here. Let me do this first, and I'll come back to that. Remind you guys of what's coming up left on the week for scheduled content. Post-game show right after Auburn, Oklahoma. It is an away game, which means I'm here, home in studio. Shouldn't have any problems being ready to go right away. So I hope you can join us. Win or lose, we're going to break it down. We're going to walk through the stats and tell you the story of the game. And then we'll take comments. We'll take questions and comments throughout it that are appropriate, but we'll definitely spend some Q&A time at the end, diving into some more details. Once again, just want to remind you folks, and this is the first real one in a while that we've had where there's a real chance for a loss. This isn't one of those places like a message board where you come to and you just sit there and complain the entire time. We're certainly going to talk about if it's a loss and the bad stuff about it. But if you're just coming there to say, fire this guy, fire that guy, it's just not a place for you. So just go ahead and know that up front coming in. If you don't like that, I'm sorry, that's tough. That's just how we choose to operate here. The Auburn Experience, episode 143. It's going to be this Sunday, 9 Eastern time. We'll break it down. Auburn, Oklahoma, the history of that, some other stuff this week. And keep in mind, folks, next Tuesday is going to be the announcement of Auburn's 2026 SEC schedule, including their annual opponents, the 3. And we'll talk about it. We may do a live stream about that. I'm thinking about it at this particular time, but that's what to keep in mind this week. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying. Just feel like the total goes under. See, I don't understand all those things, so I just don't really pay attention to it. But low scoring, very physical from Greg. I think that's probably the antithesis of what most people, the line's saying, right? I would actually, if it's a low scoring physical game, I think that's better serves Auburn. A shootout, I don't know that serves Auburn well. Last year's turnovers lost Auburn the game against Oklahoma. And they will do that here if they start committing a bunch of them. Remember, I believe I said that 3 turnovers is the backbreaker. There was something else I said earlier in the show I felt like a backbreaker as well. You don't think that the injuries hurt us. Well, they hurt somebody. Sorry, that was a bad joke. I do think that they're a big enough factor, only in the sense that even if someone's improving like it seems Eric Singleton is, based off an ESPN report a little while back, right when we started the show, they're not going to be 100%. So I got to think that's going to factor something into that. I'm not sure if we're going to be doing one right now, but Clint's always keeping that in mind. Clint knows when he wants to talk about those things, all he's got to do is talk to me. So we'll keep it in mind. The over under is betting what you think. No, I know what it is. I'm sorry, I should have not been so direct about that. I just don't care. I know what the over under and all that kind of stuff is. I just don't care. To be very direct about it. I would love to see a punt return. How awesome would it be to have in the first 4 games a punt return and a kick return for a touchdown? And we've already got that kick return. If Rayshon Pleasant was 100% healthy, I would say that he is going to I'd like to see what he could do again, right? I've seen a lot of, thanks for bringing this back up. I meant to go back to this. Arrogance from Oklahoma fans this week. Have you seen the same, and what's your take on it? It's people over posturing on social media the same way they do because they feel big and bad. They're behind anonymous accounts. I just, look, I'm so over like people trying to like puff out their chest on social media. And I mean that for both sides. Like, seriously, like Auburn fans do it too much. Every other fan base does it too much. We can just have like fun-loving, jovial conversations, and too many people are just trying to act tough on social media. I will say that Oklahoma fans all offseason have been probably one of the more annoying fan bases in some of our other chats, like our TikTok and things like that. But in the same sense, there's others that have done that as well. Certainly, it's been very lively on places like X and things like that. And I've said this several different places. Greg said it today on TikTok. I don't think that Auburn is playing with nothing to lose, or I think he was implying, or somebody was implying, that Oklahoma is the main one who has something to lose here. And while I don't holistically disagree with that, I think what this comes from, this, I use this term a lot, over posturing. If Jackson Arnold walks in here and beats his former team, you guys forget that they were kind of on that. Brent Venables was on that hot seat. And the only thing that's probably saved his job is John Mateer and then the prospect of him, because he looks like a really good quarterback. He might be up for the Heisman by the end of the year if he keeps playing well. But if Jackson Arnold comes in here and beats them, their former quarterback, that's going to really start making some rumbles. Oh, this guy can't even get it done with John Mateer. So there's a lot of this just protecting themselves, over posturing that's happening on social media. And I think that's really what's taking place there. Why they've been so vocal. What's the food menu for Saturday? I have no clue. Listen, we have had such a busy couple of weeks and weekends. I think we are just going to chill out. We don't anticipate having a lot of people over this weekend. So I think I'm actually going to probably spend the time before the game, after watching game day, just doing some probably yard work, and then settle in for the rest of the afternoon and evening for some football. And we'll just maybe my wife has something special planned for us I don't know about, but we're not big at-home tailgate type of people. Maybe we should be. Ernie says, how do they have 8 offensive linemen on the injury chart? My goodness. Yeah, I'm not really sure about the depth of those guys, like where they fall in the depth chart, but that's still a lot of depth that is either out, questionable in their injury, or, at least is enough to be listed on that particular thing. Do you not care because you have a difficulty in adding the scores together? Yeah. Well played, WT. No, I just think betting is one of the scourges of the earth. Gambling, I should say. Sorry. You guys, I don't know, been here a while, know I don't mince words about that type of stuff. What WT also said, nobody thinks Auburn can win. Auburn traditionally does well in those circumstances. Traditionally, we do love a good underdog story for ourselves. I think it's going to be a good game. I think, in fact, I predicted that 34-24 loss for Auburn. It wouldn't surprise me if we're talking about that would be 27-24 before a last-minute touchdown from Oklahoma to seal the game. And it wouldn't shock me if it was like an interception or something like that, taking it back to the house, the only interception of the game. Just some simple mistake like that. Auburn's got a chance to take the lead, and maybe Jackson tried a little bit too much. I don't know. That's kind of how I'm feeling at this point. Ernie says, I think most fan bases are much kinder in person than they are online. What do you see on Twitter? There's not a good representation of a fan base. Well, let me push back on that a little bit. Actually, it is. It is a good representation of their fan base, because out of the mouth, the heart speaks, and that is what's out of your mouth. In fact, it's straight from your mind, so it didn't even come through the filter of your mouth. So people may present themselves better in public because they know that the things that they say behind anonymous accounts, they don't really run too much risk for these days. There are consequences for what you say, in certain circumstances. But I would disagree that it is a good representation, because that's how those people feel and that's how they think. And even if they're just playing up the thing, and I'm talking about Auburn folks, I'm talking about you're not representing yourself well. And listen, I'm not some fuddy-duddy. Micah's here. Micah's a Bama fan. We give him so much crap. It's not even funny. It just is what it is. Auburn could have to come out very hot against Oklahoma and get downhill to get a chance to beat. Run game, I think, is going to be crucial. Run game is going to be crucial. All right. Anything else? Anything else? Yeah, I think we covered it all on that topic. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate you being here on our preview and prediction show. As a reminder, we do these on most Thursday nights. We're still kind of waffling on if we're going to keep doing this. So continue to show up, please, and let people know that we're doing this live. Thursday nights are usually pretty fun interacting with you guys on this, so I want to keep doing it if we can. Thanks for hanging out, though. We'll be on a post-game show for Auburn versus Oklahoma right after the game. Don't miss it here. We'd love to see it. Tons of content on YouTube for you if you want to check it out. Stuff from last homecoming. We're about to put the float pictures out and a video out and all that kind of stuff. Pre-game show, War Eagle flights, all kinds of stuff. Don't miss it. We got tons of content for you here at E2C Network. We really appreciate you being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And as I want to remind you, the new thing we're doing here in today's world, we need these reminders. Live by the Auburn Creed. I ask you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. War Eagle.